physics, we should be talking about health one of these days.
Health? Well, that is physics, isn't it? Hello, everyone. We're here chatting with my beloved son, favorite son. I never told him that, you know. Got 3 sons, but he's my favorite one, but please don't tell the others. What do we have today? Well, the first thing I want to remind you is that we have a conference in Buenos Aires on the 10th of November, Saturday. And we already got 5 people at least signed up. I'm going to try to get a couple more. See if I can resolve Mike Hutner's problem. For those who know Mike, he's a great guy, and I'm going to try to get him down there. I'm going to see if I can solve some of the problems, some of the obstacles he's got. We can make it merrier. But you know, one of the things I found out in my experience is that when you have a small group, 5 or 6, 7, that's the best group to have. When you have these big conferences, 100 people, you know, one guy has one idea, they only discuss for a couple seconds, then they go off and talk to another guy. And
no one gets a say.
No, and it's too many people to be able to resolve things.
Yeah.
On the other hand, when you have like a quality circle, 6, 7, 8 people, oh, that's great, because they throw shit at each other, and that's the best. That's the best. So I recommend that each one of you bring your own baseball bat. Okay.
It kind of goes back to when we talked about 2 heads being better than 1. It's this kind of bell curve thing where 3 heads are better than 2, but then at some point it's diminishing returns, where it's like it starts going back down. When
Exactly.
There's too many voices, too many cooks spoil the pot.
Yeah, and a good group is 6 or 7. I think that's more or less what it's going to come down to in Buenos Aires, and that's when you learn. You learn because you have a small group, and this is a very intelligent group. I vouch for it. They're sharp people. You may not agree with everything they say.
But they're not crazy.
But they're not crazy,
or
right?
Crazy in the right way.
And so this is something you really don't want to miss. And I know this from previous conferences that we had. You get a lot more in or a lot more out from very few people, because you see all these diverging views, you exchange ideas, and it's very dynamic, very profitable. Really, it is. So, well, anyways, I urge you to go to Buenos Aires and, you know, pitch in your version and be confronted by people who don't agree with you. And that's where the fun begins. You're going to have good food as a background. Good site in Buenos Aires is kind of nice, and depends on what you like to see. If you like fishing, well, bring your fishing rod. You don't need a license down there to catch fish. If you like history, well, there's a lot of sites to see. I can show you around because I'm a history buff, and so on and so forth. It depends on what you really want to see. If you want to see gauchos, you can go to San Antonio de Areco. They have gaucho environment over there. If you want to know, you know, what the Argentine cowboy looks like or does or whatever. If you want tango, you know, tango, the dance, a couple of places, a little expensive, pricey, but very nice, very, very nice.
Okay, what are you, a vacation
yeah,
agent?
I'm a tourist agent.
A tourist agent.
Anyways, for those of you who want to go, you're not going to waste your money. It's going to be a good vacation for you if you go. And so, yeah, I do urge you to go down there. Here it is, just in case. Where is it here? I've got it. This is the 6th Rational Physics Conference on the 10th of November. Okay, and it's hosted by David Robinson and myself. And, you know, we're going to be there, and we're going to talk about physics, about the rope model. Okay, so those of you who want to join us, this is the time to put all these questions in. Okay, what were we talking about? Well, we were talking about, you know, rationality. And the bottom line is that I was criticizing, I was saying that mathematical physics in general, quantum mechanics in particular, are not rational. Why aren't they irrational? Okay, I put a set of criteria. And the first one essentially is the most important one, and that's that, you can't use concepts as physical objects. You can't talk about wave functions, you can't talk about probability waves and call them particles to confuse the audience. A particle sounds like a physical object, like a corpuscle, and a wave function is not one at all. It's an equation. And so you can't say that an equation is what you accelerate along a beamline and crash it against another, probability wave or whatever. And that's where we have a problem. We have a problem with the language. You can't transfer energy, you can't move a mass, you can't carry a force or an interaction, you can't dilate time, etc., etc., etc. And this is where the problem is. The problem is in the language. This is not a semantic or semantical problem or argument or that you can dismiss and say, well, you're raising semantics, Bill. No, this goes to the heart of what the person is saying. What is your theory? Are you really saying that you're accelerating a wave particle, a wave function along the beamline? And if you're not, please tell me what physical object you're transferring or accelerating, and what does it look like? And you might say, what's the relevance of that? And there is a relevance. If you're going to pull two quarks together, and you're going to do it with gluon particles, well, there's no way you can do it, unless maybe they're hook-shaped or something, elastic, which is what we've shown last week. The gluons are, these elastic rubber bands, bubble gums that stretch out. Is that what a gluon is? Well, if you put the mathematicians against the ropes, against the wall, he's going to deny it. He said, well, no, that's not what they are. We just simulate, we just physically represent it this way, pictorially represent it this way, to bring it down to your level. That's the argument that they have. And you say, okay, don't bring it down to my level. What the hell are you really saying? Are you saying that the gluon is a bubble gum? If not, what is a gluon? Is it a little particle? A discrete little ball? If it's a discrete little ball, how do you produce attraction between two quarks? And what they do, the answer is in reverse. It's, well, when we try to push or pull two quarks apart, the farther you try to pull them apart, the more energy you need. And we're saying that all these gluons are kind of being stretched or pulling on them, and so it takes more energy, and that's what we're physically or pictorially representing when we stretch a gluon and use a rubber band or a bubble gum. And again, it's a twisted, they're the ones doing semantics. They're the ones who are twisting the language to try to get their theory through. They do not have a physical interpretation for what they're saying. They do not have a theory, because a theory is an explanation. Anyways, the deal that we had is that first we had criteria for what what rational is, because we're talking about rational science compared to irrational science, or irrational, anything irrational is under religion. And we had a little debate here with Hans. He disagrees with some of my criteria or some of my general notions. And it's good to have differences, because then we get to the bottom of what the problem is, what the obstacle is. And one of those was whether the criteria that I'm using is objective. Now, as a standalone, I don't think he's criticizing that. I think if you look at the first one, concepts being used as objects, I think we all agree that's irrational. But that's not the point. That's not his point. His point is something else. His point is that another person, which I call a religious person, he might disagree with my choice of criteria. He's saying, oh, hold it. You chose that criterion because it favors your religion. Your religion. Okay. So I'm saying, how do we resolve these issues? Is there an objective way to resolve this? And now we get to the word objective. Now we have to fight over a different word. Not rationality, but objective. What is objective? What is subjective? And I put a little analogy to try to put it within focus. And this is my analogy. My analogy is there's two boxers, the champ and the contender. Champ beats the living crap out of the contender. The contender's on the floor begging for his life. and the champ says, "I am the champ. I'm the winner of this bout." And the other guy's on the floor, you know, with bleeding and with no teeth anymore. And he said, "No, I'm the champ. I'm the winner." Well, you can't be the winner because objectively the guy who's standing is the winner. That's my argument, okay? That's my first argument, at least. And so this goes more and more and more. There's more to it than just that. But that's my analogy. I'm saying if the guy remains standing, the other guy's on the floor, you can't be on the floor all bleeding and say that you're the champ. That's my point. And use the extreme.
There's a difference. Hold on. There,
yeah.
It's because we're talking about a sport.
That
was the distinction I made. If you're talking about a game or a sport, the win conditions, at least within the game, are clear. Whether you think you won or because it's a moral victory for you to, or because you were doing it to gain money, you threw the fight.
Let's clarify that. Let me clarify that because people may not understand everything that you're saying there. Let's assume that you wanted to lose the fight, just for the sake of argument, okay? Maybe you bet on you losing.
Yeah.
For example, just an extreme example here, just to make our point. The point is the following. You're on the floor. You lost a fight. You're all bleeding up, and you say, "I won." What do you mean you won? You're on the floor. You lost. Well, that's as far as the bout is concerned. But maybe you had some other thing going on. Maybe you bet against yourself, and you won $1 million because you lost a fight, and you say, "I'm the winner." You have no teeth. You got no eyes. You know you can't see anymore. But I'm the winner. Why are you the winner? Because you lost the bout, but you won the war.
You got what you were aiming for.
Right. And that's somewhat subjective. What we're saying, and what I'm saying at least, is that, you know, the guy who remains standing is objectively the winner.
Well, no, it's not objectively the winner. It's
for the bout, for the purposes of
that's the
sport.
Right
for the okay, so we got to clarify that.
I guess objectively is the right word because it's like objectively in the sense that okay, we all agreed on
by
these
definition,
rules,
or by definition, the winner is the guy who will stand.
Yeah. The rules. We all agreed on these rules. So now from now on, this is what we call boxing.
Okay.
But it's kind of a vote thing. But we're gonna put that aside for now. We're just gonna say this is what we all call boxing. These rules.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously different rules everywhere, but essentially we're saying these are the rules to call it boxing. These are the rules within boxing to call you the winner. So within the game. There's no. There can't be two winners. Right. There can be two losers. I don't know actually.
They knock each other
out. Oh, there's a tie. Yeah.
Well, no, but I'm talking about some clear. One guy stands, the other guy doesn't.
To make it simple, within the game, there's gonna be a winner.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who says is the winner, but according to the rules that have been already set, there is gonna be a winner within the game. But that's the game sense of winning,
right?
Where it's
the
just
rules,
like chess.
The
chess,
laws.
if you play chess with someone, there are clear rules. That is, once someone takes the other one's king, once someone loses the king, they're the loser.
They're the loser by definition.
By definition, the other guy is the winner.
Right.
But that has nothing to do with the subjective form of winner, where you say. We're not looking at what you were aiming for because again you could have been aiming for money, you could have been aiming for fame.
You could have lost the fight on purpose, or maybe you, or it could be that the guy just wanted to fight, and as far as he's concerned, he's happy that he got to meet the champion of the world, even if he lost. For him, it's a victory because he had a different goal in mind.
Yeah. But within the game, it's clear.
Yeah,
We
objective.
have a winner, we have a loser. Chess is a great example.
Yeah.
Once you lose your queen. Within that game, they can only be said that you lost.
And so what I'm saying is
the queen, the king said to follow.
But the point here that I'm trying to make is that then we have to establish, like Hans said here, we have to establish the rules of science. And by this I mean the rules of rational science. What we're going to consider rational in science.
I think the better way to say it is we have to come up with the rules for the sport of science.
Okay, let's call it the sport of science, the game of science, any way you want to look at it. We have to come up with some kind of rules. And I'm saying to declare it rational or irrational, what a guy proposes. If a person proposes a theory that is irrational, we have to have a way of rejecting that by the rules, by the objectively. And what I'm saying is, I've created some criteria, and I'm sure a lot of people not only, I know a lot of people oppose this, and they oppose it because they're trying to protect their religion primarily, because they know that if those rules stand, they lose the bout, they lose the discussion, and they don't like those rules. And so what I'm saying here is that you have two choices. You either confront the rules, and you can do one of two things. You can add or you can subtract. If you have some rule, and we just came up one out of the blue and we said, look, rational is anything that is red. Okay, fine. If we can't find any fault with that rule, with that clause, we allow it. We say, okay, we have another clause, another rule for the game of science.
Yeah, but pay attention to what you just said. If we can't find fault, which basically means we both agree on the word.
No, we don't agree. The guy who opposes that can't find anything wrong, then he's got to swallow the reality.
Can't find anything wrong code for I'll vote on this criteria.
No, he can't vote against it. That's the point.
Why not?
Because he can't find any fault with it. He can't come up with any arguments. He can't come up with any arguments in his head that, maybe today, maybe tomorrow he comes up with one. But today, as of the moment of the conference, the guy can't come up with an argument against that rule. And so he says, okay,
who's to say?
I got to go home and work on it on my blackboard.
Yeah, but who's to say? Let's say he gives an argument, and it's a dumb argument.
Yeah, but then again,
who's to say it's a dumb argument that he's making? That's my point. Isn't it subjective?
And again, it's a back and forth, because the other guy is going to say that's a dumb argument. But why is it a dumb argument? Because of this.
But we're voting.
No, we're not voting. Again, we're making arguments against what the other guy's proposing.
Yeah,
but in both directions, by the way.
Yeah, but arguments is code for, in this case, is a code for, well, I'll let this one slide. Like, we'll take this one.
Except some things are patently obvious. And again, no. You can take this to the end of the earth.
There's a lot of weirdos out there.
Yeah, but that's the point. I can get a Down's patient. He doesn't understand anything. He can come up with anything.
No, he's easier because he'll just agree to anything you say.
Or maybe he doesn't. Or maybe he disagrees.
An asshole like me who just disagrees for the sake of it.
Yeah, but that's good. That's good. But my point is, if you have a Down's patient, someone who doesn't have a mental capacity, and he comes up with idiocy, I can't help him.
Let's get to the bottom of that. Yeah. What do you mean? What does that mean? You can't help him? Do you stop?
Well, no. What I'm saying is, here we have an objective statement. For example,
let's take the first one.
Concepts cannot be converted into objects or treated as objects. That's a straightforward statement, and it's objective by itself. There's no subjectivity in that. But we're criticizing whether that criteria is valid to determine rationality. That's what we're doing here, right? We're saying, is that a valid criterion? And so someone will object to it. Someone will say, well, I don't like that. Obviously, it destroys his religion, so he's going to complain. He's going to say, look, I like spirits. I want to use spirits. I want to use consciousness. And, I want to be able to move consciousness around. And you say, well, you can't do that, not in physics, because consciousness is a concept. You can't say, I moved consciousness from A to B. And the guy insists. And so there's a debate. There's a debate whether you can use love, consciousness, information, any other concept, and that you can start moving them around. And so now we have a serious fight.
It goes on.
And the question is whether you can say, well, that's all in the end an opinion. Well,
for example, what if we never come to a consensus?
Well, okay, but then the guy has to. Yeah, but the guy has to be able to defend his posture. He can't just.
Let's say he does with a dumb argument. Let's
but then again, right? You got to show that it's a dumb argument.
Yeah, but to whom?
To him.
It's one for. No, it's a dumb argument to you. No, you're not getting me.
Yeah.
Let's take that first one. Can't use concepts
we
as
would
as
need
objects, right?
a specific example, because
Yeah.
my argument's going to be
objects.
that you're going to keep pounding him, and
No,
he's
no,
going to
let's-
keep
let's get
he's going
specific.
to keep putting trenches and backing off, and putting trenches and backing off. And so the question is,
Let's get specific. Let's do a mock
Okay.
one, right?
Can you think of one?
Yeah. And,
Okay.
and I'm gonna move energy, because that's what we do every day with
Oh.
electricity. I'm gonna explain electricity, or where it's a debate. Are we explaining electricity? How does this?
Well, no. What I'm saying is, okay.
Now we
So
have
you
to
say
put this rule.
you
this first
have
rule.
a concept, right? And electricity is a concept.
You're not gonna move objects with concepts, but I am.
Right, and you're going to move electricity.
I'm gonna move
Electricity is a concept.
Yeah.
Okay, and so
And
you're going to
that's why
say.
I would say that first definition.
Okay,
or
and so I'm going to
criteria.
say, please define electricity, because if it's a concept, I need a definition. If it's an object, you just point to it and say, this is a dog, this is a tree, this is a rock, no problem. But
we
if
don't
you're
have to define concepts. That would be my argument.
then what are you talking about? Why? What is this word that you say? I never heard of it. I'm
We all know
from
what
Mars.
electricity is.
I don't know what electricity. Please define electricity, because I've never. What is this
We're
mystical
at it,
word?
But we're at it. This is me just being a douche. Like,
Yeah,
as
I
you,
know.
As
Fine.
you would expect.
Devil's advocate
no,
is
but
fine.
not devil's advocate. This is exactly what you'd expect. Well, we're at an electricity conference. What do you mean you don't know what electricity? You're the one that should be on stage. That's the response you'd probably get.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, but see, this is the point. The point is that you.
And that's where the negotiations break down, and then we're done.
No, I'm saying that what you do is you bombard the guy until the guy finally.
You just did.
No,
And
but
then I
I'm
came
saying
up
what
with
is
a dumb
electricity,
argument. Yeah.
and the
And
guy
I
said,
came
I'm not
up
going to
with-
define it. Then we have
Yeah.
a problem, because again we have to. You can't use undefined words as a second criterion,
No, that's-
and he's got to
those are all
find.
your
He's got to
criteria.
find a way of saying that he's not going to accept that criterion.
Yeah, I don't like that criteria either.
Yeah, but you don't like his opinion. You need to have a reason.
I think it's unscientific criteria.
Yeah, but you got to have a reason. You can't just declare and state. That's my point. You got to argue for
No,
it. You
but
got to
that's-
fight. You got to put your.
Yeah, but you're missing it, because it's still a vote issue where.
No, the
we're
guy
gonna
gets
disagree.
rejected out of science.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
guy
yeah,
gets
but we're
kicked out
gonna
of science
disagree.
because the guy only has opinions, and opinions is under religion by
But
definition.
it's not.
Otherwise, the guy's just going to have to define science in a different way, and religion. We go to a lower level where the guy says, well, no, science is not about explaining. It's not about rational explanations.
Yeah,
He's
what
got to
if-
go to that level.
What if you disagree on all fronts?
But then you got to go to a lower level, or a more basic level, where we define not what rationality is, because obviously we can't reach some kind of consensus there. The issue is now you go to a lower level. Well, what is science? What is physics? Is science about explaining things rationally? And the guy says, well, no, I don't agree. And in fact, that's what the mathematicians would say. They say it's about describing. And that's where the problem is. The problem is, in fact, it is at a lower level, like Hans is saying here. That's where the fight's going to be. And the question is, and then, you can use an example like I use. I'm saying here you have two magnets, right? And they attract, here they repel, okay? They don't like each other. And the question is, if this phenomenon is a part of physics,
What do you mean, the phenomenon
does this
is-
phenomena, the explaining what is happening here, how one magnet, is that part of physics or not? And if people say, it's a yes or no type of way, it either is or it's not. Dropping a pen, or what? Here's I have a pen. Dropping a pen, I let go of it, it falls to the center of the earth, to the floor, to whatever, right? Is the explanation of that phenomenon a part of physics? And the question is, will the mathematician say,
What if I say no?
right, he might say, no, it's not. And again, then he's got to define what is math, what is physics, what is science about?
I think you just did. Is math.
Yeah, but he might say it's math, and then the question is, well, again, I'm saying I need to understand, or people want to understand, what brings this to the center of the earth, what brings a magnet towards another.
Then go to theology. You're in the wrong
Yeah, but then again, and that's where it comes down to.
But isn't that just
and that's
a vote?
why, yeah,
You're
but then no, it's not a
voting
vote.
yours,
It's just
and I'm
no.
voting physics is mine.
No, I'm saying it's not a vote. I'm saying that we're going to do science, and whatever they do is whatever they do.
But that's your vote. But that's your vote.
Yeah, in a way,
This is the weird thing with this congregation or conference where we all come together, right? We're trying. I mean, the way I understood it is science is we're all trying to collectively understand what the universe is trying to do, right? Or how the universe works. That's the way.
Well, isn't this how the universe works?
Yeah. But
I mean, what do we mean by how? Are we saying how or why? In other words, are we asking for a mechanism, or are we just going to describe and say, oh, the pen falls on 9.8 meters per second squared? I mean, is that just a description? Is just saying that a chair has one backrest, 4 legs, and 2 armrests? Is that what science is about? Just describing, saying, "Oh, that's what a chair is."
It gets pretty.
Or is it about explaining some phenomenon such as invisible stuff like, what is light? How does light do its magic? How does a magnet do its magic? How does gravity do its magic? That's what we want to understand.
But that's
I thought that's what we wanted to understand.
But then, if understanding is the goal, understanding how the universe does their tricks, what hydrogen atoms theoretically
look like
to
begin
right?
with.
Isn't that the goal essentially?
You would think, but these people aren't interested in that. Hold on.
To see the unseen is the goal.
You would think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I look at it, but that's not the way they look at it. They don't want to see the unseen.
Yeah.
They say the unseen is unseeable.
But assuming that is the goal, to see the unseen.
Yeah.
Not just. I mean, they also want to see the unseen in the sense that because they're looking at the effects of the unseen, and you're trying to figure out the shape of the unseen.
Yeah. Well, you got to start with the shape, because you got to try to identify what an object is, and when we're talking about the atom, what are we talking about? And hopefully, the first thing you want to do is illustrate the atom, your atom, not the real atom, but your atom, the one you're proposing, the one you're going to explain your theory with, what your dissertation is about. And so the first thing you do is present your atom, you would think.
Okay, but
like if just let me give you a simpler example. You say, the tree knocked down my house. I'm going to explain a theory where the tree fell and broke my house. Okay, so
it's kind of a theory. I've seen videos where it's kind of no brainer.
But see, I'm explaining it to the Martian, and he doesn't know what a tree is or what my house is. So the first thing I think I would do to get him, more or less a picture of what I'm trying to tell him is, look, this is what we call tree, and this is what we call a house. So you point to these things and say, this is tree, this is house, this is what I think happened. The tree fell on the house. Very simple.
And fell on you, define.
Right, and you would think that all physical phenomena are explained in the same way. And if the guy just says, look, I'm just going to say that there was a force of so many meters per square inch or whatever, that caused the house to fall, nobody's going to understand that unless you really put some kind of object there, unless you pictorially represent what you're talking about.
Well,
that's where the problem is.
Isn't what you said yesterday in the kitchen the most pressing issue on this, where you said that all these years, these 2,000 years of doing science, have all just been trying to figure out what is science?
We had a discussion yesterday after our lecture, and I'm telling Hans here that maybe these last 2,000, 3,000 years, the whole process we call science or research or whatever you want to call it, was to find out what the rules of science are, or what the rules of the scientific method are. Now we have them, and now we can go back and say this is scientific, this was not, or that kind of thing.
But it kind of goes to that where that's kind of what we're revolving around. Where we're trying to. It's this weird thing where to understand how the universe works, you kind of need a system. I mean, we have the scientific method. That's kind of like the crowning achievement of science. isn't so much what we learned. It's more the process by which we discern
the rules of the game.
The rules of the game, or the process that we call science. So we're trying to have this. It's like anytime you don't have stringent rules on what you're doing, it's kind of up in the air. So you can't really follow
well, you're kind of lost. You're on a tangent. Yeah, you're not doing science. You think you're doing science, but you're not.
Okay, but that's the question. Why is it that we need these specific rules to kind of, or how do they help us? It's either help or we can't do without to understand the universe.
And what I'm saying is the answer to that question is that if you define the terms rigorously, you say this is what science is, this is what the scientific method is. If science is rational explanation, what do you mean by explanation? What do you mean by rational? Etc. You define the crucial words in what you're saying, and you got to go slowly because you really got to go through each one of these words. And people will first of all dismiss all that and say, oh, you're doing semantics, you're doing metaphysics or ontology or whatever. No, you're defining the foundations, in this case of physics. You can do that for philosophy as well, but what you're doing is defining the foundations of physics. You're saying, look, if it doesn't meet these conditions, this specifications, then you're not doing physics. You're not doing science. Yeah,
but why is that so important?
And the guy's gonna, because you reject his theory as religion because it's irrational. And the guy is gonna object to that. He's not gonna like it. Obviously, he said, "Look, all my life I believed in this, and you're trying to reject it with semantics, by defining words."
To put it in,
and that's why. Hold it. Let me finish. That's why we have to get on top of the ring. And fight it out and find out what the rules of the game are. And we have to develop the rules of the game, so we say this is science and this is religion.
We've been developing the rules because
we don't all have to agree, and we will not all agree, obviously, because some religions are going to be trounced. Okay, so obviously we're not going to agree.
To put this into perspective, in boxing, for example, why do we have rules? Because if someone pulls out a gun in the middle of the fight and shoots the other guy,
he's not the winner. Well, he's the winner.
No, but it ruins the sport. It's like, oh, we all. It's like
you cheated.
Yeah, but what does that mean? It's like you ruined the whole point. We're here. That's
or someone in the audience does so. His manager.
Okay, well, that's
I hate that guy.
That's a more nuanced thing. But in chess, if I just go on and smack your king away.
So the game was to kill your king. I did it.
Yeah, it's like then you kind of.
I won.
But the point is, why do we have rules in sport?
That's an important point.
So that we can specifically say, what are the things that would ruin the whole point we're here?
Very good point there.
Science.
What Ans is saying, if I knock your king out, I can knock your king out. I won't do it legally. I won't do it by the rules. I'll just go click and knock your king out of there and say, I won, because the game says he who knocks the other guy's king out. And I did it. See, I kicked your king out.
But you bypassed 7 rules.
Right. And so the question, is that what we want? Is that kind of cheating acceptable? So we do have to have some kind of rules.
Well, no, it's not cheating acceptable. It's more specifically, why is cheating unacceptable? Because you're ruining the whole point. You basically wasted our time.
Yeah, and let me put that in the context of science. Exactly. Let me put that in the context of science.
Why are the rules of science?
Someone brings spirits in there, okay? And he says, oh yeah, the reason the curtain moved is my grandmother's spirit is in the room, and she moved the curtain. And you say, no, look, it's the window that's open. The air came in and just moved the curtain. What do you mean? No. It's my mother's spirit or my grandmother's spirit, because she loves me and today's her birthday and she came in to visit me, and he goes through this theory. And you say, well, hold it, you're cheating, because what do you mean by spirit? What do you mean that your grandmother's spirit? I thought she died. Well, she's alive, but she's not alive physically. She's alive spiritually. Yeah. And so now we get into this war of what do you mean by spirit? Can you illustrate it? Is this a concept? Is this an object?
Yeah,
we get into what people call semantics. And it is semantic in a sense, but the guy's using semantic is the other guy. The guy is introducing a word that is not acceptable and it's going to be challenged.
But the point is that why is it cheating or unacceptable for someone?
Because
wait.
He's not explaining. He's not explaining.
Hold on. But that's my point. Why is it unacceptable for someone to evoke spirits or evoke spirits? To use spirits, right? To answer it. That's unacceptable because he's not explaining it. He's ruining the whole point we even brought up the question.
Yeah, because if you're going to do something by magic, well, we don't need physics.
You're basically saying, I don't care.
Right, I don't care how it's done. I'm just going to invent magic. How does a particle pull on another particle that's far away? Well, God brings his magic wand, goes abracadabra, and it does so.
So we're just
okay. Well, yeah, I can do physics like that too.
It's like playing Monopoly.
What have I understood?
Taking the other guy's money. It's like, okay, we're not playing Monopoly anymore.
Right. And
if
so
we're gonna do science, okay, I really
call that
want to
cheating.
Know, yeah, it's cheating. If we really want to know, I don't know how magnets work. If we really want to know,
right.
You can't just pull something out of your ass and say, this is what it is. Who cares? And then just leave the room.
And that's the point. The point is that if you're going to use magic, black magic, then it's not science. It's not physics. And yeah, you can do physics with magic, but then you're not doing physics. You're doing religion. And when you turn a concept into an object and start pushing it around, like saying, "Oh, we accelerated and smashed particles," and you say, "Okay, what does your particle look like?" Well, it's not really a particle, a corpuscle, which is what you're thinking of. No, it's really a wave function. And what do you mean by wave function? Well, look at this is the equation, and what do you mean an equation? Are you accelerating equations and smashing equations? So the guy's not doing anything that's rational anymore. Well, and that's why we have to put in there the rule and say, look, if you're going to start accelerating and smashing concepts such as equations or functions or variables or numbers, we got a problem. And the problem is that you need to be locked up in an asylum. That's the problem.
Not locked up in an asylum, just you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But the locked up in the asylum brings up a good issue, which is understanding. The kind of the title of the video.
Yeah.
Where we're all here to understand how the universe works, right?
Yeah.
But we could both understand it with conflicting theories.
And let me give a little background there. Last night after we finished the lecture, we wanted to get to the bottom of the words explain and understand with my son. I'm not sure we reached any conclusions, so don't hold your breath today, okay? We're still brainstorming here. But the issue that came up was whether science was about explaining or about understanding. And I believe, or I hold the position that science is about explaining, rational explanations. And my dear son here, he says, no, it's about understanding. And so that's where we had a discussion, a very long discussion. And the issue is, what do we mean by explain? What do we mean by understand? And one of the ways you can try to resolve this is by looking up the words in the dictionary. Let me show you what the definition, the official definition, in the dictionary, at least the one of ordinary speech is for what an explanation is. This is what explain means: to make plain or clear, render understandable. Explain, directly related to understanding, or intelligible, to explain an obscure point. Example there, right? To make known in detail, to explain. Explain is to explain. Okay, great. To assign a meaning to. Is meaning the same thing as explain? Well, that's debatable as well. I mean, we have definitions and meaning. We have explanations and meaning. Is the word meaning used consistently when we oppose it to explain as when we oppose it to define? And that's another issue. To make clear the cause or reason of. Okay, cause or reason. That kind I like, because that fourth one there, because that does relate to what we do in science. Cause, physics, reason, philosophy. So I kind of like that. Count for, I cannot, well, I gave an example, I cannot explain this strange behavior. And that's explain. Let's look at, real quick, let's look at what we mean by understand. Here's the official definition of understand. And there's several things that you'll see in the dictionary, dictionary.com. to perceive the meaning of. Sounds quite a bit like what we just heard, meaning, and they bring meaning again. And again, are we saying understanding is the opposite of definition? Or the same as a definition? What are we saying here? Grasp the idea of comprehend. Comprehend is a synonym. They say understand and comprehend, we're saying the same thing. And they gave the example, to understand Spanish, I didn't understand your question, etc. To be thoroughly familiar with, apprehend, again another synonym. To assign a meaning to grasp significance, again significance more or less, understanding, synonyms. To regard as firmly communicated. Now that's getting a little better. To regard as communicated. But see, we got a problem there because you can explain, right? And the other guy says, I didn't understand. So you explained, and maybe you went out of your way to explain. You even made a movie, and this is what my argument is. I made a movie of my theory, and the guy says, well, you know, you did not communicate your theory very well to me. And you say, well, what problem do you have of the movie that I made? I mean, what part in the movie did you not understand? What is there a missing piece there that you didn't understand?
Yeah, the problem.
So you got to focus and ask questions until the guy understands what the mechanism that you illustrate.
Yeah, the problem with that one is to regard as communicated is it the explainer could say, oh, I've communicated it.
You can't say that.
No, but that's my point. That's my point.
The question
That's my point. That with that one, okay. It falls through because it depends on who says that they regard it as communicated. That's why it falls through.
No,
if I say that I regard
because
it as
the explainer doesn't leave the room until the other guy shows what part he did not understand in the whole process. He can't say, I didn't understand any of it. No, you can't say that. Because if the guy makes a movie, you say, no. You just have an opinion, and it destroys your religion, and that's the only reason you say you don't understand. Tell me what part specifically in the movie, what part am I missing? You say, you're missing a part here. Oh, okay, let me explain that part. Let me illustrate that part for you until the guy understands. There's no way the guy can continue saying forever, I didn't understand. No. Understand doesn't mean that you believe. It just means you understood what the guy is proposing, not that you agree with it.
Yeah, that's why that one falls through because
it doesn't fall through because you can ask
but to regard as firmly communicated, you say is a good definition.
No,
it does fall through.
No, I'm not saying it's a good definition. I'm just saying
that one falls through.
I'm saying it approaches better than the others. To say that you assign a meaning to that's
still
irrelevant.
Comes up short because to regard as communicated, it depends on who regards it as communicated.
But this is not a question of opinion.
That's my point. That's my point too. I'm defending your point. You're not getting me.
Okay, let's see.
I'm saying to regard as firmly communicated is a shitty definition.
Okay, why?
Because it falls through. It depends on who regards it as communicated. That's why it doesn't make sense.
And I don't agree with that definition.
Nor do I.
Okay,
I'm saying that's why it falls through because
I'm saying
if Johnny says it's regarded as communicated, but the guy didn't understand it.
Right.
He didn't understand it, but Johnny over there says, "Oh yeah, I regard it as communicated."
Right. And so what I'm saying is the guy can't continue saying, I didn't understand. Now, if you make a movie of a mechanism, how to pull a pail with a pulley, and you say, this is the way you do it. You pull on the rope, the little wheel turns and pulls the pail up. And the guy can't say, well, I didn't understand. Well, what part didn't you understand? Please tell me specifically what part you didn't understand and I'll clarify it for you. And the guy said, well, I didn't understand this little thing. And then you say, okay, what part didn't you understand about that? And you keep pinching the guy until the guy says, okay, finally I understood. He can't continue forever say, I didn't understand, because that only means he's just a devil's advocate, or you're destroying his religion and he doesn't like it or whatever. I mean, if you got a Down's patient there in front of you, he's not going to understand ever, no matter what you do.
Can you bring up the definitions for explain again?
Okay, now I wanted to bring up my definition.
First, I want to bring up explain.
Okay, where was it? Explain here. Here's the explain definition. To make plain or clear, again, that's not so.
Yeah, see, but there's a difference. They do make a distinction, interestingly, because we all kind of understand the definition. The difference between explain and understand is two people or one person. With explain, it's me to you. with understand, it's always just to hear, to take in, is me with myself, while with explain, it's always me to someone else in all of these.
Well, again, and we had a debate about that last night, because what does a person do? A person tries to explain some phenomena. Something happened, right? Magnets could be, right? When a magnet attracts another. What do? Well, we might brainstorm things. We can say God sent his angels and pushed them together. Okay, that's one possibility. What's another? Well, we have particles that somehow deliver negative momentum or whatever. You have all these ideas thrown in there. So we'll call that a brainstorming session. We brainstorm ideas, right? So we have, I don't know, say 10 things on the board. We log them down. All these are explanations, but you haven't chosen one. All you did was brainstorm, just everything that came to mind you just put on the board. Anything is valid because brainstorming accepts anything.
Vale tudo. I think it's called in Portuguese.
Vale tudo.
Vale
Todo.
Vale
Todo.
Vale tudo.
Vale todo. Sí.
Vale tudo is basically means no holds barred fight.
Yeah, in other words, everything is valid.
Everything goes.
Yeah, everything goes, and that's the issue. Brainstorming, you just put explanations on the board. Period. We put them up there. Now, at the end of the brainstorming session, you might choose one. You might reject them all for all we know, but you might say, look, out of all these, I think this is the best one that I like. And maybe you didn't hit the right one. Maybe it's not the one, for example, that Mother Nature uses to run her shop. But that's the one you chose. You like that one for whatever reason. Your education, the way you were up, your upbringing, your biases, your different ways of thinking, whatever. And so you chose one. And so now you're going to explain to someone else. You're going to say, look, the reason this phenomenon happens is because of this, and you just give them the one that you chose. Okay, so the guy now is going to try to comprehend what you said. And what you said is not just what you said, but you're going to illustrate it, because if we're talking about physics, you're going to have, you should be able to illustrate your theory. And so you make an illustration, you make a little movie of your theory, because that's what a theory is, a movie of objects. And you say, look, watch the movie. The guy watches the movie and he says, I don't understand. And so now the question is not whether you believe, we're talking about understanding, not about believing. And we're saying, okay, what part did you not understand? And he said, well, how did you get from point A to C here? Oh, you're missing B. Okay, so now you fill in the blank. And again, you make a movie and you show how you get from A to B and then from B to C. And the guy can't just continue bombarding you, because we're not talking about believing. He may not agree with you. That's fine. You don't have to agree. We're just talking about the guy understanding what you're proposing. And you say, okay, now I understand your theory. And that's all we're talking about. We're talking about understanding. And I'm saying that, I can't vouch for the other guy. All I can do is explain. And if I'm missing a piece, fine. The guy questions me and says, well, I didn't understand this part. Okay, what part did you... For example, I'll give you a very good example that I've had this week a couple times. The guy says, what is the rope made of? Electromagnetic rope. And I said, geez, this was the simplest thing in the world. 2 strands. So the guy comes back and he says, was it made out of hemp? Is it made out of, what material is it? A straw? What is it made out of? So he keeps digging into something that is troubling him. Okay? Something is troubling him. He wants to know what the ultimate material that the rope or the thread or whatever is made out of. And at some point you say, look, the thread is an elementary, a fundamental entity.
Or the elementary.
Right. And these people have not been trained to understand what elementary fundamental means, because the particle mathematicians say, oh, the electron is an elementary particle. And the reporter asks him, what is it made out of? And instead of saying, look, elementary means it's not made of anything. The guy ends up saying, well, give me some money, more money, so that I make a bigger atom smasher. I'll smash the electron and I'll tell you what it's made out of. Then it's not an elementary particle.
I like that. Well, what's the elementary particle made out of?
Yeah.
That's the definition of elementary. It's not made of anything. But
and this is the point.
Question.
And this is the issue. The issue is that people keep asking, but it's not that they're not understanding the theory, because the theory has nothing to do with what the rope or what the threads are made out of.
Hold on. It's not.
Let me finish this thought. It's not what they're made out of. The theory has nothing to do with that. But it's like they're nitpicking you because they want to know something else that's not embodied in the theory. The theory just says, look, if you have a torsion of a rope, that's light. And do you understand that much? I mean, let's not go any further. Do you understand that? I'm saying light is just a torsion. And we were talking about that with Hans last night. If you turn on the light, you press a button and the light goes on. And so the guy says, how do you turn on the light? And you say, let me explain it to you. Look, you press the button here and the light goes on. Now, that's all he explained. He hasn't told you anything about electricity. He hasn't talked to you about fields or anything, any of it. He says, look, let me tell you how that light turns on. The light turns on by pressing the button. Okay, so now you know how the light goes on. You just press the button. Now the guy has a more basic or more fundamental question. He says, well, hold it. Why does the light turn on? And so now you go into a little deeper explanation. If you know the answer, you may not know the answer. You say, look, you might say, look, there's all these atoms from here all the way to the light, and all these electrons, these beads, and they flow from atom to atom, and they turn on the light. And so now you ask them another question. You say, do you understand that much? My proposal, my theory. And a guy might say, yes, but I still don't understand how it is that, these electrons move. Now you go to a deeper level. You say, this is what causes them to, and so on and so forth. What I'm saying here is there are different levels of understanding, okay?
Yeah. Layers of understanding.
Layers of understanding. I explained to the guy why the light turns on. I press the button, that's why the light turns on. And that's a very simple explanation. And a lot of people are comfortable with that. They say, okay, so I understand every time I need to turn the light on, all I got to do is press this button. Okay, I understand. Yeah. So if he understands that, he understood your theory at that level.
But going back to the nitpicking guy, it goes to that where it's not really layers of understanding. It's kind of more, it's also layers, but it's also like a web. Because to understand this thing, I need to understand that thing. Yeah. So that's why they're asking about the hemp thing. Where they're like, okay, what's it made out of? It's like they understood that it's a rope.
Yeah, but that's the issue. The issue is they have to stop there and have you understood so far what I've said so far?
Yeah, so far. But the guy came out of nowhere and asked.
Because they wanna say, well, I didn't understand this other thing. Well, I didn't explain that other thing. So don't ask me that. Have you understood that light is a torsion of the rope? Have you understood that part? And if the guy says yes, okay, I'm finished. You want to understand that? You got to come to the conference, but these guys want to get to the nitpicking stuff, but they don't ask that question at the beginning. They say, so you're saying that light is a rope? Well, did you understand that? I'm not asking you to believe. I'm asking you, do you understand that what I'm saying? That it's just a torsion.
It's just a nice follow-up question. Like, is it made of hemp?
Follow-up is fine. Follow-up is fine, but what I'm saying is I have explained what I'm proposing. Let's put it in quantum terms. You ask a quantum mathematician, what is light? And the guy says, it's the flow of particles. We'll call them photons. We'll call them whatever. I don't care. We can call it a wave. Yeah, they don't care either. And have you understood the mechanism? Yeah, I understood it perfect. I can tell you, I don't believe in it, but I understood it. I can't say, well, I didn't understand. What do you mean it's a flow of particles? Yeah, it's a flow of particles. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Can you understand this or not?
A river of beads.
Right. I mean, the explanation is right there.
But then if someone, I understand that part. But since this is like a web kind of thing of understanding, it's like, well, something feels off about this rope thing because it could be irrational or BS.
Yeah.
or I would consider it irrational until I know what it's made of, until I know.
Fine, but now he's asking a different question. And all I'm saying here is that if I ask a quantum guy, what is your explanation for light? And the guy said, let me give you my physical interpretation. My physical interpretation is that light consists of a flow of particles. Did you understand? Yes, I understood perfectly. I can't say I didn't understand that part.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to know a follow-up question, I want to get to a deeper level, that's a separate question. But I can't say, I didn't understand. Oh, yeah, what do you mean you didn't understand? I'm a flow of particles. What part did you not understand? The part flow or the part particles? I mean, it's just flow of particles.
It's like.
So this is the issue.
If it's a different question, different answer, different question, different answer.
Right. Now, I'm not saying
I answered your first question.
Right.
Light is a rope. Then someone comes with the second question, but there's nothing.
But
I get what you're saying.
My point is that when I make the movie of my theory, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to explain quantum light. And the guy says, okay, how do you explain light? And I say, look, an atom just shoots all these particles, and we'll call them photons, and all these photons go everywhere, and that's what we call light. It just reaches your eye. Did you understand the theory? Did you understand my proposal? Did you understand my explanation? I can't say I didn't understand that. Now I can say, hold it, but how do atoms create photons? That's a separate question.
Yeah, but hold on.
Did you understand my theory?
But maybe not, because again, understanding a theory is at different levels. Because I could ask the same. Hold on, I could ask the same question and you just say it's a spray, which is basically a Cliff Notes version of what you said. Yeah, it's a spray. That's light. Okay. Like, okay, I understood that, but I kind of
did you understand that? I stop you there.
No, because that wasn't my question. You didn't answer my question. It was too vague an answer.
No. But you're missing the point. The point is that I did answer your question at one level. At one level.
But it's not the level I wanted. That's
correct. But and I understand that. I realize that. But what I'm saying is, if a guy tells you, look, what is your mechanism for light? And I say it's a flow of particles, you can't say, well, I didn't understand that. No, you can't say that because that's my theory. My theory at that level is it's a flow of particles. Now, if you want to know something else, well, how does the atom create the particles? Or that's a separate issue. But you should be able to understand that portion and say, well, I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I guess it would
you can't just continue saying, I didn't understand, I didn't understand, I didn't understand.
It would go something like, okay, I got that part, but that's not what I was asking.
That's right.
Then it would be a separate question.
Right. And then you get to a deeper level. And this is the point. The point is that, when people say, what is your theory? I'm saying, well, light is a torsion of a rope. All atoms are interconnected. And the guy says, I didn't understand. What do you mean you didn't? What part did you understand? Well, what is it made out of? That's a separate issue. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about that. We're saying, did you understand the mechanism that I'm trying to explain to you?
Yeah, but it could come across like facetious, where you're just trying to get them off your back. Like,
I can say
it's just a thing, whatever.
I can say
you could just as well say light is a thing.
I can say light is carried by angels.
No, you can say light is a thing.
Did you understand my theory? My theory is that God sends angels, and each luminous ball is an angel. I can say anything. Did you understand my theory?
That's too complicated.
But I can come up with anything.
I'll give you a simpler one.
I can come up with anything.
What is light? And you say light is a thing. And then you just walk away. Like, did you understand it? Good. Like, you didn't. You kind of you answered this question at too vague a level. The top layer.
Yeah, no. You can say light is a thing, and you haven't answered the question.
But you have at a top layer.
No, because you can't say light is a thing because it's a process. You got to say, look, what I propose is that invisible entity here is just a flow of particles. Everybody should be able to understand it. I don't need to go to college to understand that. It's like saying, why did the tree grow? Well, because I put water and earth into it. And you can say, okay, I understood that part, and then you can go to a deeper level. Yeah, but that part should be straightforward.
We definitely have to talk more about the layers of understanding tomorrow.
Yeah, but again, what I'm saying is the top level of understanding you can't just keep bugging the guy to death and say, I didn't understand what you meant by flow of particle. I didn't
Depends on
understand
what
what you
the
meant by
top
flow
level
of particle. You can go and say, you know, how did the atom create the particles? That's a separate issue. But you can't say, I didn't understand flow of particles. That's the part I'm saying you can't question.
Yeah, you can't say
unless you're down patient.
You can't say I didn't understand, but you can say that's not what I was asking.
Fine, but but anyways, if I go to you don't ask anything. I'm going to a conference and I present my theory. Nobody has asked me anything. I'm just going to present my theory. I'm just going to present my theory and say my theory of light is that it consists of a flow of particles.
But that was the question.
And nobody asked me a question or anything. And people say, "Well, I didn't understand that." They can't say that. It's irrational to say I didn't understand what you just explained. They can't. It's irrational to ask that question or to say I didn't understand a flow of particles. You can't say that. Now, if you want to know something else, that's separate. But you can't say that you don't understand flow of particles or twisting of a rope. You can't say you didn't understand that, because then you need to be locked up in an asylum. That's it. And so I will see you tomorrow, same time, same station. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.